Welcome back to the worm. How's it hanging? Finally got around to chipping up some of these piles of brush that I made when I built the cabin. So they've been laying there for at least a year and a half. Makes me feel pretty fancy to have it smeared around here. Man, the temperature dropped. It's down about 25 degrees from what it was the last month. It's great, so I thought I'd get out here and do some sweating. Anyway, oh, look at that. There's some rain. So weird. A lot of these sunny 5-minute rainstorms today. Anyway, since I've been out here, my kitchen has been first a stump with a camping stove on it, and then after a little bit, some crappy tables. This was some firewood ripped up with a chainsaw and nailed together. Still got my other stove out here. It all works just fine. I just think it would be really cool to have a giant outdoor kitchen here. You know, I don't ever cook in the cabin because I don't want the smell in there. I don't want animals to come crashing through the walls. So even in the middle of the winter, lunchtime, got my snowmobile suit on. I stand outside and cook breakfast, lunch, dinner, doesn't matter. But since I first moved out here to the woods, I've had this sort of a vision of a kitchen overhanging the hillside here. This was completely cleared last year, and all this stuff has grown up. So we're gonna have to do some chainsawing, some macheting, just to get this cleared out and figure out exactly where we want the kitchen. Oh, check this out. I didn't draw plans. With almost everything, with everything I've built out here, the most I've done for plans is to find a dusty chunk of dirt and take a stick and kind of draw it out. But this, I couldn't figure out, how do you figure out what size to make it? Sarah and I chatted for a while about it, and she's like, just draw it on a piece of paper so I can see. So I got it drawn up. So this would be the hillside here. I don't know if this is going to be right on the edge of the hillside, if it's going to be overhanging the hillside or what. We'll figure that out later. This is a roof over half of it because I'd like to, if the weather's bad, I want to be able to sit underneath it. This is the picnic table I want to fit underneath here. I'd like to be able to sit out there when it's snowing and not get all soaked. This would be an L-shaped counter. So this is 12 feet long this way, and the dimension this way is 16 feet. I don't know if I'm going to do a log frame for the floor of this thing. I'm not too sure. I think the floor of this, the actual flooring, is probably going to be aspen. And I think the flooring out here that's not covered will be cedar. Oh, and the cool thing, I've got an old wood stove, a fairly nice wood stove from my brother's cabin. He gave me, it's been sitting out here for a couple of years. I want to put a wood stove under here. I have no idea if that's a good idea. I have no idea if it'll get used, if it'll kick out any heat when it's just out in the open. But that makes no difference. I want to do it. I want to build it. And I think the roof here is only going to overhang the deck 1 foot this way, 1 foot this way, 1 foot that way. And because of that, I don't want rain and snow coming in here and ruining that wood stove. So this little dark line here is perhaps a wall. I don't know if it'll be a short wall, if it'll be a tall wall all the way up to the roof. But to have an outdoor wood stove that's only covered by 1 foot of overhang, maybe 10 feet up, I think it's going to need some kind of protection. I don't have any idea how long this thing's going to take to build. I don't know if I'm just going to pick away at it through the winter. I think I'm going to do the footings just like I did on this place. But in order to hold that roof up and support the floor of the deck, the footings do have to be in just the right place. I actually thought it would have been kind of cool to put the wood stove right in the middle underneath the roof, or just in the middle of the deck. But the way we drew this up the first time, it ended up being 1.5 times the square footage of my cabin, and I just don't have it into me to build something that huge. So we've got the shape, the general dimensions, all the stuff that's built on top of it. You know, like I'm gonna do some cabinets on there, the countertop, all the other storage stuff that I'd like to have in there. We'll just figure that all out later. So this is the hillside here. I'm gonna put the deck somewhere between here and maybe over there. So anything that could fall on it is gonna have to come down. I'm fine with cutting most of these trees down. The only one I don't want to is this huge pine tree right here, because I think it's freaking awesome. Since it's day one of this project, I got to start with something I've been meaning to do for over 2 years, which is to make this fire pit a little bit bigger, because there is a lot of garbage, wood, and brush on that hillside that's going to be needed to gotten rid of. It actually saves a lot of time to have a bigger fire pit, so you don't have to cut everything in such small chunks. That's better. Well, there's a trail a four-wheeler trail that goes down that side, right next to the cabin, drops down the hill, and just keeps going. There's not really a good turnaround down there. So I think we need to cut a trail through here somewhere that can do loops. So let's go have a look at where we could put that. We want to come up somewhere by the fire pit, so we either got to go kind of through there. I'm going to cut all these stumps down. I leave all the stumps, as you guys know, in case I want to build like a table or a little deck or whatever. I already have feet for it. But now that I'm a little more permanent here, I mean, I've been permanent here for a long time. I just didn't really know it until recently. I'm starting to do more with like concrete pads instead of old stumps. Oh, we could drive up here. Oh, man, I forgot about this thing. I was trying to get aspen for some project, cut that down, and it got so hung up that I wasn't able to do anything with it. Sheesh. Yeah, we're gonna have to get that out of here somehow. Probably have to cut down that cedar and that not so healthy pine there. Get all three to fall over at the same time. Here's the view of that mess from the bottom of the hill. So this is the trail up to the cabin there. Man, it would make me really happy if this thing that's been stuck for 2 years didn't fall down in the next hour or two. I hate working underneath stuff like this, but I can't get it down until I get the garbage out from underneath it. Ooh, nice big fire pit. Can't tell if there's any good wood in this or not. I mean, the tree broke off. It was dead, but it could still be usable. When I'm doing a lot of burning like this day after day, Whenever I cut something really dry, like a standing small dead tree, I throw the pieces of it aside for the next morning because I can just throw those on top of the coals, give it an hour, and a fire starts. Look at this. That's how dry the wood was. I got a second fire going here. I guess if I just let it go, maybe fanned it a little bit, we could just burn this thing clear. Nah, that's a dumb idea. But yeah, it's really taken off nicely. Wow, that was a lot of work just to get the floor clean out here. But it's definitely looking significantly better down there. So I want to get this guy down. I think first I'm going to take out those two little tiny ones down there because it's going to fall that way. I don't have a ton of healthy paper birch out here and very few maples. And there are two maples together right there. There's a healthy paper birch. That's kind of leaning this way, so I think I'm going to have to just stick the kitchen in the spot where that's not going to hit it if it falls. And I wasn't sure how far over here to clean this stuff out, but that tree is cracked, as is this one. I don't know why. That's just from gnarly wind or something. It doesn't look like anything fell on it. Oh yeah, look at that. All the way down. So that's gonna have to come out. Oh boy. This big aspen's gonna have to come down too. It actually looks relatively healthy, but it's leaning directly that way. I'd say I got at least another couple days hard labor, probably 3 days, to get this cleared out completely. Oh, and then we also have these two cedars. This one's gonna have to come out. It's leaning straight this way. And the other one, I don't know, once I take this thing out, it's gonna be a weird bit of a tree on the bottom there, isn't it? I think I'll probably just cut those both because they're somewhat precarious, and I'm gonna need a bunch of cedar for lumber for this thing. God, I hate going under this thing. Freaks me out every time. Even when I drive under it on the four-wheeler, I pull up a couple feet away, look up the whole time, and just scoot underneath it. It has been there for like 2 years, so chances of it coming down on me today are pretty low. There is a lot of lumber in that one tree. I'm glad I decided to cut it, and that other one looks about the same, maybe a little bit smaller. So I'm thinking the longest logs I need are the uprights for the highest point of the roof. And there's no sense in making lumber for that. I might as well do logs. So I don't think I'm gonna get any other trees out here that are in good shape, that are straight. I think all the spruce is dead that I'm taking down. So let's cut I think like a 10-footer out of the end of this. We'll use that for one upright. Dagnabbit, that was a stupid rookie mistake. This last log is sitting, it's a real weighty log sitting on the rock, balancing right in the middle, and I just cut straight down through it. And because of that, I split the bottom out of it, which is fine. I'll just mill it in this direction, but kind of sucks. It's probably broken 3 feet down there. All right, it's clear below. We got to take this thing down. I can't really tell if it's only hung up in this skinny tree or if it's hung up in the pine as well. But the little skinny cedar here is definitely got some weight on it. So I'm gonna do a little face cut on here. I don't know if I'll even get a back cut in there. I don't know if the whole thing will go over or if I'll need to face cut and back cut the pine there too. The good thing is no matter what happens, it's tipping downhill, and I'm not gonna be downhill. You got smoked. Luckily, it didn't hit the camera or break the tripod or anything, but the aspen, I think the branch busted off and it just fell out of the other two trees. That came down great. I got most of the way through the back cut and I could see it just starting to move, and I got a whole bunch of sawdust in one eye, and I was like, gotta keep cutting. You don't want to stop when you're 90% there and walk away. Yeah, that sucker, not much of that cedar tree, huh? Pine looks all right. We'll probably get at least one, maybe a couple decent logs out of that pine. But man, does it have a lot of woodpecker holes in it. Look at those suckers. It's a pretty good sign that it's dead and rotted right there. Be a huge win if we got any good aspen out of this one. Nope, it's garbage. Look at these woodpecker holies. I think those are the ones I saw before, perhaps. Look at that. That is cray-cray. Well, there's about, what, 7 feet there and a bend and a knot. Maybe 7 feet and a bend and 7. I'm trying to think what I'll use pine for. Probably the roof rafters, and I don't know if I can use pine for the floor joists, even though it's going to get rained on a lot, and clearly this isn't treated. Maybe I have to figure out how to treat it myself somehow. The only other option is to use cedar, and I'm not going to have that many enormous cedar boards. Well, we're not going to burn it, so let's give it a chop and see what we get out of it. I don't know if I've ever done that. Gotten the saw jammed up on the very first cut. And you got a tree leaning that far, there's no sense in doing a giant face cut like that. That was really dumb. That's the biggest I've ever screwed up a cut on a tree. The good thing is, it's also like the safest tree you can cut down. I know exactly where it's going. Good to go. What a mess. Dang, it's a nice healthy log, but look at the curve in that sucker. That's gonna net me about no lumber. When they're super curved like that, usually the best you can do is just cut them into really short logs. So maybe I'll cut them into 6-footers. That's about the shortest that'll easily fit on my sawhorses, and about the longest you can cut with that curve in it. It's already cut off, but it's way too snaggled. Gonna have to get crafty on this one. To get a tree this snaggled, generally can cut down both trees at the same time, but that's the one big cedar I do not want to cut down. And I've already cut this down twice. Cut it once, couldn't get it to tip over. Cut it a second time, fell off the stump. Now we're gonna cut it a third time and see if I can yank the center out of it. It is cold this morning. Well, not freezing cold. Freezing would be what? Somewhere around 32, I think. It's 34 right now. I got pretty much everything cleared out of here, and I'm looking at my log piles here. This is nowhere close to enough lumber, especially since a lot of the logs I have here are garbage. So there's 2 more trees I guess I'm gonna take down. One I really, really hate to do is this huge white pine sitting right on the edge of the hillside. It's a gorgeous tree, but it has this bad spot in it about 2/3 of the way up. I think all the white pines I've cut down on the property here are, yeah, I haven't cut down one super healthy one. I leave all the healthy ones. And so many of them have the tops broken off. So there's like a couple of giant limbs left, and like the tree's still alive. It hasn't rotted, but it's not in good shape. And I just have a fear that this one, if this tree broke off with my kitchen here, the kitchen would be demolished. So I guess I'm gonna cut it down. I mean, the upside is that is a, what do they call it, a stink load? A stink load of lumber. And the other one left is this aspen. The crown there is part paper birch on this side and aspen on the back side. I mean, if it's not rotten inside, I'll get quite a few roof boards and floorboards out of it. I'm gonna play my little GoPro tripod versus tree game. See if I can guess how tall that thing is and where it's gonna land, and put the camera right at the end of it. I've done this a couple, you guys probably remember, I've done this a couple times together and came out quite well, like definitely within 5 feet. And I haven't crushed the camera yet, but let's see what we can do here. I'd say that's about an 80-foot tree. I'm just gonna guess what 80 feet. Let's guess 83 feet here. What'd you think? Are we far enough away from that one? Oh, I don't know. I think I call that a win. I got a little nervous when it first started tipping. I was like, oh, that's not far enough away. I did a little different cut than I normally do. So when the tree came down, it traveled, I didn't even look, maybe 2 feet or something from the stump. And yeah, I'd say in that case, I only overshot it by about 1 foot. There's the tree and there's the tripod. So yeah, I mean, those about exactly touch the tripod. Also parked the 4-wheeler right where I needed it, backed it down there so I could throw the limbs right in the trailer with only 4 feet to spare. And the trunk from about here down is relatively straight. We'll get some 10 footers out of that. That'll be nice. This one looked pretty healthy, so instead of wasting a foot of good lumber, I actually tried doing a Humboldt cut. So the first cut goes in and the second cut goes up like that. Unfortunately, my back cut ended up being way higher than this, but if it was right dead even with that first cut, then this log would be flat all the way down here. Clearly, I kind of screwed it up. I mean, it worked fine. It came down fine. It went exactly where I wanted it to go. But my fancy logger's cut didn't work. It's hard to do a Humboldt cut, I think, because I don't know anything. But I find it hard to do if you don't have a full wrap handle on your chainsaw, because you actually have to cut up. So instead of your first cut like this and your second cut like this, your second cut has to be like upside down. Which, if you're standing on the correct side of the tree, which I really couldn't because there's crap there, it'd be fine to do this. But when you're doing it from the other side, your first cut's like this, you're muscling it, and your second cut, you'd have to cut like this, and there's nothing to hold on to here. My 661 has a full wrap handle, but it's got the mill and milling chain on it, so I wasn't, you know, gonna get it out for this little tiny cut. Anyway, I mean, it also didn't work out great because I don't practice it. I've never really had a need to do it, but sometimes it's fun to try out some new stuff. All right, so this is gonna be a heavy log. You know what I didn't think about? The bottom 1 or 2 or 3 logs I'm not gonna be able to move. They're just way too heavy for the four-wheeler, and no matter how you go, you gotta go up a relatively steep hill with not very good traction. So maybe we'll section this one up and we'll just leave it here. When I get around to milling it, maybe I'll just shove it, roll it down the hill, try to find some spot flat. Don't worry, I'll take care of all that mess up there. I can tell every time I cut down a tree, you guys are like, oh crap, is he gonna ask me to help out? I'm in my boxer shorts, my hair's all a mess. I can't go out there right now. It's all right, I got it. All right, got the top cleaned up. There's something in my life that has to change starting today. I wait till I'm starving, and then I make some garbage, wolf it down, and go back to working, but it's been going on for too long, so I'm gonna make some good food. And it'll probably take me an hour or two to make it, just like a basic stir fry, maybe an hour. But the good thing is I'll make enough that it'll last me for a few days. All right, we got 4 pounds of chopped up chicken cooked. And I keep all the grease and flavorings in there. I boiled it down a bit so it doesn't go to waste. And then put all these vegetables in there. This should be a good lunch for a while. Part of the issue is out here, it's just so hard to keep vegetables. I mean, it's fine. They just take up a ton of space in the cooler, and they don't keep that long in the summer, so I have to like cook it the next day. I don't, you know, it's just, life's not very easy sometimes. Yeah, you're right, it's pretty easy. Oh, that's making me awfully hungry. Doesn't that look good? All that chicken fat in there. Let's see what else we got here we could throw in. Chilorio, shredded seasoned pork meat. Ooh, I wonder how old that is. Ah, here we go. Some rice packets, that'd be good. Put some sesame oil in there, I found. The soy sauce go bad? This looks really old. Yeah, let's see what happens. This makes me pretty excited to have my big outdoor kitchen done. Oh, especially if I could get myself to slow down, maybe 1 day a week or 1 day a month, and light a fire in the wood stove. I could see sitting in front of the wood stove eating this when the snow's falling. These might be a little old too. If they're bad, we'll cook the badness out of them. I'm about to get rained on big time. What to do? I gotta go put all my tools away. I guess we'll put a lid on this and maybe eat it in the cabin. This is supposed to be my one clear day before 3 days of storms. Man, that is a lot of chicken. Holy cow. Whoopsie. And not very many vegetables when they all cook down. Wow, this actually tastes way better than garbage too. Is that how it's supposed to work? I almost forgot what healthy food tastes like. Yeah, yep, I see it too. I see it. Happened last night. wasn't supposed to. Nothing we can do about it now, but we got to get this concrete in the next week or so. All right, last tree. Man, I'm gonna attempt a bad idea, a real bad idea. I don't know if you can tell, but the tree is leaned quite a bit that way, basically straight towards the cabin. I don't think it would hit it if this goes wrong. Really, the sensible thing would be to cut it downhill here and then do what I've been doing through all the limbs in the trailer, drag them up. I don't know, the fire pit's right there. If I cut it and I can get it to go that way, I can cut the small limbs off, the crooked limbs, and throw them right in the fire pit. It's gonna take some wedging and some hammering, but I think, provided it's a healthy tree at the bottom, I can get it to go that way. I think I could get it to land on the fire pit. Tip of it should be right at my feet. Maybe I could stand here and, oh no, that's not gonna work. God, you come up with such dumb ideas. All right, I'm not gonna do that. I think I mentioned this before in a previous episode, but if you ever find yourself cutting a tree, no matter what, it's always worth walking all the way around it, go a long ways from it, and hang something so you can see which way it's actually leaning. So especially something like this, uneven ground, you know, it's on a hill, it kind of makes your eyes think it's going a different way. That is definitely leaned downhill and that way, so let's go downhill with it. I'm sure you'll kick in and help me drag some of those branches. Slightly misaimed, but there's been, ooh, wow, that big aspen is still shaking, kind of wants to come down. There's been one huge limb stuck in the aspen tree right there, like 40 feet up, and I've never figured out a way to get it down, so looks like we did it. Oh yeah, my hinge wood wasn't cut quite straight across. Couldn't tell because the chainsaw didn't reach all the way through, but yeah, that side hung on a little bit longer, so it swung the tree to the right. So that's a 20-inch bar, so it must have about 22-inch log here at the bottom. And it's so straight. Look at that thing. That's about as dope as it comes. Let's see if it broke at that bad spot there. Oh, first, let's check and make sure we're not going to get hit by anything up there. Nope. It all looks still attached. Here's the bad spot. It didn't break there. Man, I don't know. Maybe it would have been all right. I mean, when you're sitting here looking at it like this, it seems fine. Had a lot of wood on the back side of it. Whatever, it's down. Let's get this cleaned up and figure out where to put my kitch in. We did it. We got all that taken care of. Now we got to figure out what size to cut these logs. So our kitchen is 12 by 15. So I guess we'll do 12 foot, yeah, a couple 12-foot logs. That'll be all the floor joists. Then the 15s, we're just gonna have to splice something together. But we're gonna need a lot of 12-foot joists. So yeah, that is ended up being an amazingly good log. Let's measure it out, see how many we can get out of that. I don't know, there's a little bit of a dip, but I think that's, look at the whole thing's hovering, sitting right here on the stump and all the way on the very tip of the log down there. Ruined a couple measuring tapes getting this sap right on the end of it. Then forever you can hardly pull them out. Wow. That's 24 feet right there, so we can do two 12 12-foot logs. We'll do them 12 foot 2 or 3 inches. You know what just hit me? We still have some big pine slabs left over. Right over there somewhere. What was that from? I know part of it was the wood I used for my coffee table, my hanging coffee table, but there's still like 2 big chunks of a log, pretty long log too. Let's see what that is. Maybe we could use that for the rafters, or maybe this one tree will be enough for the whole thing, who knows. Ooh, yeah, got some good stuff there. Not super straight, it's got a little curve to it, so we wouldn't get full width boards out of it. But we got 11 foot 2, so yeah, we could do something with those. And this is where our coffee table came from. Looks like there might be a little bit of a bad spot in the middle. Maybe we use that for some countertop. I don't know what we'll make the countertop out of. Pine, probably. I don't know. Regardless of what we make it out of, it's going to be outside year round, so we're going to have to varnish the crap out of it after it seasons for a while. Oh yeah, we could make the countertop out of this too. This is real curvy, real strange. Well, that's good. We got some extras down here. You know, instead of cutting those logs up right now to the right length, I think I'd rather just let them hover where they are. That big pine log is over the main trail coming in, but I can drive up the hill on that little logging trail I just made. Maybe we should figure out where the foots of this thing are going to go first. Get the concrete in, then we'll start cutting logs. Sure looks a lot different out here now than it did a couple weeks ago. I don't know if you can tell from this video, but it's probably been at least 3 weeks I've been working on this when the weather's good. But yeah, this part of any project out here is a lot of stinking work. Just a lot of physical work. No thinking, just a lot of brute. It's a good thing I'm a brute. Now look at my notes here. My cute little drawing. The numbers don't add up. 12 by 16, 12 by 17. Maybe it's 12 by 17. The big thing is we don't want to overdo the 12. I can't go 13 or it'd be a kind of a disaster. Actually, with those Granberg mills, I could mill a little bit longer, but we got 12 written on here. Let's stick with 12. Don't try to change my mind. So 12 this way, 17 that way. I think what we got to work with here is not hitting any stumps. It's interesting, the more projects I do, these big building, I mean they're big for one dude with a chainsaw, but the more of these building projects I do, I see like little things that I save over from the last building project or even the last 2, once I figure out what works and what doesn't work. I don't think it was until I built a cabin that I actually did concrete feet for anything. Before that, it was just everything was built on tree stumps. Unless you can land a foundation of what you're building all on tree stumps, like the man cave is half on stumps, half on, yeah, like concrete pavers. When the ground freezes and thaws, the whole thing does this. Actually, this stays the same and this side goes up and down. And something this big is not gonna all fit on stumps. Plus I just cut them all down. And I'm not gonna find 4 rectangular stumps. So I think we're gonna do this same feet. There were maybe 2 by 2 and 2, I think they were 2.5 bags of concrete. So what's that, like, I don't know, a couple 100 pounds of concrete for each foot. So we gotta make our 12 by 17 not hit these big root balls that are still out here, which is gonna be really difficult. All right, let's find 4 spots, 12 by 17. Once we get this thing all laid out, I've got 5 piles of the straightest limbs here that I can actually get through that little chipper. So I'll just blow all these right to where the kitchen's gonna be. Woo. Dag nabbit. All right, you gotta twist it a little bit. That's a heck of a stump. I think I got it. It all fit just fine. I grabbed some spray paint, spray those stakes so I don't run them over while I pull the rest of the brush out of there. It's all of a sudden starting to get exciting. Whoa, check these out. I think these are false chanterelles. It's pretty cool looking, right? They look almost enough like chanterelles that you kind of want to take a bite. Oh man, they really do. Look how orange those are. Look very delicious. Just kidding. Am I kidding? I don't know if I'm kidding. You know, it kind of sucks because the days are short, but it gives you an excuse to take some extra time off at the end of the day. Whenever there's light, whenever there are long days, I always just feel like, not like I have to keep working, but I want to keep working. Like, why would you stop and eat dinner, take a shower when the sun's still up? But the longer I've been out here, the better I've gotten at knocking off by 5 or 6 or something. Apparently, there are other things that are fun to do besides just building stuff out in the woods by yourself. We're gonna have to cut a new trail around here now. The deck's gonna be right in the middle of my path. Found some of my concrete boxes. I don't know where the rest of them are. Maybe they're down on Tito's cabin or something. Well, it's already after 5, so it's quitting time. And we got a couple days of rain and sleet mixed. So no sense in trying to bring concrete out here for 2 more days, 3 more days maybe. But you want a quick tour? Here's the end of the kitchen. Big fat 12-foot long by whatever feet, whichever way, wraparound bar with a kitchen sink in it. Somewhere, maybe right over there where you're standing, we'll have to put the water tower if we ever want to be able to feed water into it. And then it comes out 7 feet from about here. The roof will be at its highest, maybe 10, 11 feet or something. Slope down to the back there. Picnic table, a wood burning stove with maybe a little wall to shield it from the rain. And of course some kind of cabinetry for food, maybe bear proof, at least squirrel proof. Oh, and I have a propane lantern and new 2-burner Coleman propane stove. So I could put a, I don't know, 20-pound bottle out here, make a permanent lantern somewhere on a pole, actually probably be underneath the roof there. And then we'll build in that 2-burner Coleman stove into the countertop. It's gonna be something. I do like the area, I do like the view. I have to put a little walking path right to the cabin. And then we're probably gonna end up moving that fire pit somewhere. So I think this will be the hangout spot. So maybe as close to the kitchen as we can get it without catching it on fire, smoking you out, we'll put another fire pit. It's gonna be really fun. I don't know how much fun it's gonna be to use, but it's gonna be really fun to build. Thanks for watching. Hope to see you next week. We'll put those forms back together. We'll pour some concrete, cut some cedar feet, and then we'll start milling the pine. Of anything on the horizon coming up soon, I'm most looking forward to milling that giant pine log. It's like one of the few chunks of wood that I have out here that makes it totally worth having that 661 and the 36-inch mill. That's perfect for it. All right, see you next week for more kitchening.